Howdy everybody. So I've got my fuel pump and fuel filter mounting plate here. Here's my fuel pump. Mounts on right down here. Some new grade 8 hardware. Got a couple band clamps here that hold it in place. This one's already snugged up. I'll snug this one up. This is the suction side or inlet to the pump. This is the discharge side out to the fuel injection. Got a plus 12 volt here and a ground minus there. Alright, next thing we're going to do is mount the fuel filter. Somewhere in this area here. Get a couple fittings put on it. Actually, I wanted to take this apart. This is an eBay special 30 micron racing filter with a bracket. Let's take it apart, see what it looks like. Some paper towels here to put the clean parts on. Got a nicely machined in cap. Pretty decent looking O-ring on there. Spring. Filters in there. Take off this other end. Same deal, nicely machined end cap. Looks pretty decent. Nice O-ring on there. This is according to the specs, a 30 micron stainless steel screen. It's got an O-ring in the end here, which seals on this nipple here of the housing. There also appears to be a spring inside. I'm not sure what for. Maybe they think they need a spring in there to keep the shape of the screen, although it feels pretty stiff to me. I don't think you'd ever collapse one of these unless you had a really high, super high flow, high pressure pump with a lot of pressure. I'm not 100% sure what the in and out is. I'm assuming I'd want the in to come in here and go through the filter this way and out. That way when you want to clean it, the filter, you can take it out and you can rinse it and then blow it out from the inside to blow the particles out. If you flowed it before the in went in here and then out the outside, it'd really be hard to clean, or at least to inspect and make sure it was clean. And this is just a basic tube threaded. Looks like it's machined pretty nicely. Don't really see any issues. Screw this back together. So besides the fact that this red is obviously anodized, these end caps look to be silver anodized as well, which is good. Keep them corrosion resistant for a certain amount of time. Put the spring on. Tighten it back up. Okay, get that nice and tight. Now I want to center this bracket. Just drop a Loctite on the threads. Snug it up. Let's get a nice rubber liner on the inside of this bracket, this clamp bracket. Looks pretty good. Now this filter comes with a bunch of different AN fittings and O-rings. These look like a -10. I'm using -8, -6. -8 on the inlet side. -6 on the outlet side. Now one whine on the internet about this filter was that somebody was saying that the fittings are too restrictive. And I don't know if you can see it, but they are necked down a bit on the inside. Interestingly, this end inlet ID is bigger than this end. If you look down in the hole, you can see a little tiny step. This is the -8 fitting. This is the -6 fitting. So the easy way to remedy this is to drill it out. It's not that big of a deal. Okay, so now I need to mount this filter unit. I need to route it so the intake from the fuel cell comes through here. This is the inside of the filter. This is the out of the filter. Just going to hand thread this fitting in there. And then I'll have a little hose just loop around right here. Okay, so mark a couple holes. Next I'll drill a couple holes here and we'll mount the fuel filter. Okay, I've got the holes drilled. Some hardware here. Okay, now we're going to work on these fittings. Okay, I went ahead and drilled these fittings out one hole size in the drill press. Really didn't make that big of a difference. They'll be fine. So now I got to put the O-rings on them. A little bit of oil on the O-ring. Alright, got it on there nice and tight. Okay, slide this plate up from underneath. Slide a couple bolts through. Okay, we'll get that bolted down. Okay, I've got the fuel pump and fuel filter plate mounted in. Now I'm starting to make a hose. Got one end on already. Can lightly screw it onto the outlet here. Then we'll come around and kind of loop it around. Make a mark roughly where we need to cut it. I'm leaving it a little long on purpose. Okay, so my mark is right here. I'm going to run some tape just over the mark. Wrap it around nice and tight. Straightest line I can get. And I'm going to take this over to my chop saw and I'm going to cut it there. I'm not going to chop through with the chop saw though. I'm going to hold this up to the blade and slowly rotate it to get a nice clean cut all the way around and not blow out one side or the other if you chop through. Okay, I've got it cut off. Now take my fitting, unscrew the nut, screw it onto the hose. Gotta try to tuck any little stray wires inside the best you can. And kind of twist it on until it comes up and hits the bottom on the inside. Then on the inside, you probably can't see it, you want to look and make sure that nothing's hanging in the hole. And now I'm going to put a bunch of oil all over this fitting. Really goop it on there. And screw it in the end of the hose. And I'll only be able to go so far by hand. I'll have to put it, I got a wrench in the vise, I'll put it in the vise and tighten it up the rest of the way. Okay, I've got the hose made. I've rinsed it out, blown it out, which you should always do because when you're cutting and grinding these little fibers, you're going to get dust and maybe a little metal strands inside the hose, so you want to get that all cleaned out. So now we will install it on the fuel cell. Just lightly screw it on there and here. Tighten it up with 2 wrenches. I'm going to spin any fittings. Okay, I can wire tie this hose right up underneath this bar here to keep them flopping around.